It's one of the most baffling mysteries of the NHL offseason. In a league where nearly every team is desperate to improve, why has no one made a move for a young, available star? This summer, the market was shockingly quiet. While the Pittsburgh Penguins were the only team openly selling assets, other clubs at the bottom of the standings, like the Buffalo Sabres, Chicago Blackhawks, and San Jose Sharks, decided to hold onto their talent. Meanwhile, new franchises and ambitious teams like the Utah Mammoth and Anaheim Ducks made major splashes, acquiring high-profile players such as JJ Peterka and Chris Kreider. And this is the part that truly doesn't add up. Why has there been absolutely no offer-sheet activity for Marco Rossi? Rossi, a highly skilled restricted free agent, is currently locked in a tense contract stalemate with the Minnesota Wild. In fact, on a recent episode of the Worst Seats in the House podcast, insider Marco Rossi revealed that the two sides haven't even held negotiations since before free agency began. This strongly suggests that the Wild and Rossi's camp remain roughly $2 million per year apart, or possibly even more. Here's what makes the silence so puzzling. If the goal is to get better, adding a top six center is one of the most impactful moves a team can make. For an estimated cost of around $7 million per season, plus a first and third round draft pick, acquiring a player of Rossi's caliber seems like a reasonable, even savvy investment. And it's not like there's a shortage of interested parties. Believe it or not, 18 different teams currently have the draft capital required to present an offer sheet to Rossi. So, what's the holdup? One common theory is that general managers are hesitant to create bad blood with their peers without good reason. And let's be clear, Minnesota's GM Bill Guerin has publicly vowed to match any offer sheet that comes in. But here's where it gets controversial. Guerin has also admitted there's a financial threshold the Wild aren't willing to cross. So what if a rival GM called his bluff with a strong offer, say a 4-year deal worth $26 to $28 million? That kind of contract would walk Rossi straight to unrestricted free agency and force Minnesota to commit significant cap space without securing any of his UFA years. From a strategic standpoint, there seems to be very little downside in testing Minnesota's resolve. This situation could shift at any moment, especially as training camp draws nearer. But for now, it appears that the teams claiming they want to get better aren't actually trying to get better. There must be a reason. Let's break down those 18 clubs that have the ability to sign Rossi and explore what might be holding them back. Group 1. The cap-strapped clubs. Teams: Boston Bruins, Los Angeles Kings, Montreal Canadiens, New York Islanders, New York Rangers, St. Louis Blues, Winnipeg Jets. These teams are all projected to have less than $5 million in cap space once the season begins, which makes it incredibly difficult to maneuver financially and accommodate a contract in the $6.5 to $7 million range. This is especially frustrating for a team like the Boston Bruins. They boast one of the league's premier talents in David Pastrnak and an elite goaltender in Jeremy Swayman. Their roster is built to win immediately, yet their top two centers are currently Elias Lindholm and Morgan Geekie. Rossi already demonstrated last season what he can do when paired with an MVP-level shooter. His addition would give Boston a formidable under-25 1-2 punch alongside prospect James Haggins for years to come. Sadly, the money just isn't there. Group 2. The rebuilders who can't risk it. Teams: Chicago Blackhawks, Nashville Predators, Pittsburgh Penguins, Philadelphia Flyers. Let's be realistic. These teams aren't expected to make the playoffs next season. Even for a team like Nashville that might be on the bubble, what's the logic in potentially surrendering a high lottery pick unless you're absolutely certain you can escape the league's basement? Using valuable future assets to slightly improve a roster that's still not a true contender is a risky and often unwise strategy. Group 3. The contented contingent. Teams: Columbus Blue Jackets, New Jersey Devils. It's no surprise to see the New Jersey Devils here. They are stacked down the middle with elite talent like Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, and Dawson Mercer. The inclusion of the Columbus Blue Jackets, however, is a bit more unexpected, but upon closer look, it makes sense. While their center depth for the upcoming season, featuring Sean Monahan and Adam Fantilli, may not seem overwhelming, they have top prospect Caden Lindstrom waiting in the wings. The Blue Jackets are quietly building a promising young core of top 6 centers. Would they really want to spend $7 million on a player who would likely end up as their third-line center once Lindstrom arrives? Group 4. The team with its own problems. Team Anaheim Ducks. The Ducks have a fantastic young foundation with centers Leo Carlsson and Mason McTavish, except there's a catch. McTavish, like Rossi, is a restricted free agent and still needs a new contract himself. Could they use an upgrade at center? Absolutely. Rossi would currently be an upgrade over McTavish and would solidify their top 9 group up the middle. But here's the controversial part. It's generally considered poor form and poor strategy to start throwing out offer sheets when you have a prominent RFA of your own who is vulnerable to the exact same tactic from other teams, including, notably, the Minnesota Wild. Group 5, the Head Scratchers. This one will surprise you. This leaves us with 4 teams that, as far as we know, have not submitted an offer sheet for Rossi. And in all 4 cases, their inaction is genuinely difficult to comprehend. The Buffalo Sabres technically have 3 players who can play center: Tage Thompson, Joshua Norris, and Ryan McLeod. However, Thompson's defensive shortcomings and face-off struggles suggest he might be better suited for a permanent move to the wing. The Sabres are a team overflowing with individual talent that has never quite coalesced into a cohesive, winning unit. Adding a skilled, two-way center like Rossi makes a ton of sense, especially after they lost some offensive punch with the departure of JJ Peterka this offseason. Their hesitation is a puzzle. The apparent disinterest from the Calgary Flames might be the most confusing situation in the entire NHL. Their top 2 centers, Nazem Kadri and Mikhail Backlund, are 35 and 34 years old, respectively. Another RFA this summer, Connor Zary, is the same age as Rossi but only produced at a half-point per game rate. Most damningly, the Flames have 0 top 6 caliber center prospects in their pipeline. They are sitting on $15 million in cap space and, much like Minnesota, have a historical aversion to full-scale rebuilds. They've had only one top 5 pick, Sam Bennett, 4th overall in 2014, in their 45-year history. Their failure to even consider Rossi defies all logical understanding. This is year 7 of Steve Yzerman's tenure as general manager of the Detroit Red Wings. The result so far? 0 playoff appearances and only 1 drafted forward who has proven to be better than Rossi. The Red Wings desperately need a true second-line center to slot between Dylan Larkin and prospect Marco Kasper. They missed the playoffs by the slimmest of margins last season. Shouldn't Yzerman be feeling immense pressure to finally make a win-now move? Upgrading at center seems like the most obvious place to start. We highlighted this possibility when free agency began. And the point still stands. Signing Rossi would be a masterstroke for the Utah Mammoth. It would simultaneously improve their team while weakening a division rival, the Minnesota Wild. They have just enough cap space to make it work. Rossi would fit perfectly on their depth chart between Logan Cooley and Barrett Hayton. And perhaps most importantly, Mammoth coach Andre Tourigny is a known believer in Rossi's talent and would undoubtedly welcome him. It's hard to imagine Rossi refusing to sign on the dotted line for a chance to play under him. Let's be real. There aren't a dozen realistic suitors for Marco Rossi at this stage of the offseason. But even by that measure, there are still 4 teams, Buffalo, Calgary, Detroit, and Utah, for whom submitting an offer sheet seems like an absolute no-brainer. All four franchises should be eager to take a significant step forward next season. So we have to ask, what's the real reason for the delay? The longer this silence persists, the more perplexing it becomes. What do you think? Are these GMs being overly cautious? Is there a secret gentleman's agreement against offer sheets? Or is there something about Rossi's game that we're all overvaluing? Let us know your take in the comments. We're curious to hear whether you agree or disagree.